Hey guys, how's it going? I am DudeNotSoHD, and today I'm going to be talking about Fortnite Arena and why I think it's trash and what changes could be made to make it a better ranking system. So before all that, let me just preface that I'm not in Champions and I actually don't play that much Arena. Reasons being is because I still want to try and get better before I take a deep dive into that, as well as some of the reasons I give in this video. I mainly only play as a trio when my friends need a third and they've got no one else, and then I'll play a bit from time to time. So my main reasons as to why I think Arena is bad is because there's no incentive to play it, there's no pressure in the ranking system, and it's no good for practice for competitions. Most ranking systems that you know from other games usually bleed into their competitive scene or their pro scene. However, Fortnite's differs completely, and that's my biggest problem with it. This is basically a couple of steps above pubs, and the problem with that, or the reason for that I should say, is the way it's been created and the way it's been set up. So first things first, let's talk about incentive and what the incentive is to play Arena. And right now, the only incentive, or the biggest incentive, is to get to Champions so you are eligible for all the competitions. And some might say it might just be Contender because there's a Contender Cup that you can also win money in, and that cup would be easier, so some people might just go as far as Contender. However, then they won't be able to play FNCS. But as I said, other than those things there, if you're not a big comp player and you don't care too much about that, but you want to get better, or you like ranked systems and like pushing yourself, I don't think there's much incentive to play Arena. Yes, there are better players in there. It is better practice than pubs, but it's not that much higher. And there's definitely certain types of practice that you need for competition that you cannot get in Arena, and it's purely because of the way it's been set up. So my first problem is incentive. And the next one is it's too forgiving. It's too forgiving just in general. There's no relegation, so you never have to worry about being relegated. So you can play properly and play, very serious up until a point. And then when you hit that point, you don't have to care. You don't have to worry anymore because you cannot be relegated. And so people get to Champions and then they just W key, because why wouldn't you? At that point, what does it matter anymore? You don't have to care about your points anymore. Some people are a bit more hardcore and still want to gain those points and just want to see how many points they can get by the end of the seasons. But, most people, as soon as stakes are gone, it doesn't really matter to them anymore. And I think that's part of the problem, is it's too forgiving and there's no stakes, which equals no pressure. And that's a bit weird when it's a ranked system. Most really robust ranked systems are there to put the pressure on and to really test you as a player. And so because there's no stakes, people don't play the game properly. Now, there isn't a quote unquote proper way to play the game. You can play it however you like. However, Arena or ranked is supposed to bleed into your competitive or pro scene. But Arena is so far from the Fortnite pro scene and how games actually play out in competitions. So it's a horrible place, really, to practice for competitions. I mean, it's still the best practice you're going to get in the game in terms of what's available to the matchmaking. However, it's so far from competitions that you miss out on a lot of key skills that you need to learn and develop, like rotations, how to navigate an in-game, how to get proper picks, proper mat management and keeping hold of your mats, knowing when to use them and when not to use them. All these things you don't really learn from Arena because, as I said, they play out more like pubs than they're closer to pubs than they are to competitions. So what ends up happening is, because these things aren't within the ranked system that's in the game, it's then up to players to find a way to practice these skills. And so what also happens is, around all the regions, there's certain servers that are set up for scrims. However, they have to put in these rules to get people to play properly. But the rules themselves also don't get you everything you need. So for instance, they have things called zone rules where you're not allowed to, I think you can kill the team that contests you at a POI, but after that, you're not allowed to kill anyone until I think 4th circle, 5th circle, something along those lines, because they want a stacked end game. However, you miss out on mid-game rotations, you miss out on using your mats properly because you don't have to use mats if no one can kill you. You miss out on getting better with the loot that you have because you can just loot with no worry about anyone going to kill you, no worry in the world, so you can just loot freely and farm freely. And this is not because they've set it up properly, but it's because they themselves can't really add any stakes unless they want to add money to it. But I mean, who's really got the money to throw out cash prizes all the time and significant ones to make people actually give a shit and play properly? So it's, like I said, it's not their fault in the end of the day. And from what I've heard, the 1 year in OCE has even tried to see if they take the rules out, if people will play properly, but still it just ends up in a bit of a shit fest and no one plays the game as they should, and so no one really gets all the practice they need. Yes, it's better than Arena, but there's still a lot of lacking there. So you have to do this weird amalgamation of Arena as well as these scrims. Now, if you're a player that doesn't have a lot of time and you'd like to get better, but you just don't have, you need to go to school or you have a job that you need to be going to because you can't otherwise pay the bills, you might miss these scrim sessions or these little tournaments that they hold. And then, so what's there left for you? Well, only Arena, because you can only do with what the game allows you to matchmake with. So you're stuck in what is this low class ranking system. So in the end, no one actually plays the game the way it's supposed to be played, which, I mean, obviously is a weird thing to say. This is how it's supposed to be played. But as I said before, your ranked system should bleed into your professional team. And so I've even seen this where people sort of get a bit pissed at the really good players that play Arena and W key. But, in the end of the day, if you were that good, I'm pretty sure you'd probably do the same, because you get to a point where it's like, what's the point of me rotating and taking the game slow if I can just win the game by killing everyone real quick? So those are the things that I think are lacking within Arena. And what I want to move on to next is sort of my suggestions as to what could make Arena better and actually put some pressure on players to play the game in a certain way. So the first thing I would do is a re-add relegation, because that adds more pressure to players that have either just gotten into a new division or those who are teetering on the edge and know that if they have a bad game, they'll go down. Now, I do know that it's a bit hard to relegate someone that just got into a new division, so I think there'd be some sort of safety net for like their first few games before they actually get relegated. However, relegations need to be within your ranked system. Otherwise, what's the fucking point? Now, this second part isn't a major, it's more of a format change. And what I mean by not the point system, because I'll talk about that next, but what I mean is the divisions. I think there definitely needs to be more divisions, or divisions within the divisions, to give you a clearer picture of where you stand within the leaderboard or within the whole system. However, I don't think it's a big thing. I think you can keep it the way it is, but I do think it would be nicer to see sort of a clearer representation of your skill within the ranked system. So the next thing I would change, and it's probably the final thing, but it's basically the major thing, it's the point system and how the points work. As I said, it's too forgiving and you just sort of get too many points for too many things. So the way I would change it is, first I would remove the bus fare, because it's just weird. So you get points deducted from you straight away and you've got to get placement in that. I mean, it works to a degree, but I think I would remove that entirely and start deducting points based on placement. Let's say 75 and up, or maybe 60 and up if you want to go really hardcore. Anyone that dies within that bracket will lose points based off their placement. and so they'll lose a decent amount of points if they die straight away, basically. And then between, let's say 75 or 60 and 15 to 10, let's say 15 for this, let's say 60 and 15. Between 60 and 15, you neither gain nor lose points. So when you get to that stage of the game, you have a little bit of a sigh of relief of, okay, I'm not going down, but that also means that you're not going up. You know, you've made it to the point in the game where you're neither being punished nor rewarded. And then from there, 15 to 1, 15 to winning the game, this is where you'll gain all your placement points. And there'll be a decent amount. So let's say 60 points at 15, and maybe it goes up by 10 or up by 5, with each placement. And then of course extra points for first and second, maybe first, second and third. These aren't the exact points I would use, but this is just sort of the idea of the system. And then finally, the big one would be points for eliminations. Now this most people might not like, but I think each elim should be just 1 point, or 1 hype as they call it. And I know that's fuck all, but that's the point. In the end of the day, the game is about being the last team alive, being the ones that survived. So I don't think there should be too much emphasis on points for kills. Yes, of course, kills matter, and especially in big moments, kills matter. And that's why you should get a point. But I don't think, if you want to mimic your ranking system as closely to a competition or to the pro scene as possible, you need to set up your ranking system to show such. So this will basically eliminate people just trying to W key at the start of the game, get 5-6 points, go even or go positive, and then they're fine. But if we just give them 1 point for a kill, well, they don't have an incentive to run around the whole lobby and just kill everyone. And so this should then give you more stacked end games, because in the end of the day, all the points that you need are in the top 15. And so that's where you want to aim to get. And so if you allow people to only get the bulk of the points there, this will then make people to take the ranking system more seriously. And who knows, you might actually start seeing something like Storm Surge in an arena game, which is another thing that you just never really get to practice and get your head around, that you need tags to keep above the Storm Surge. So these are just some of the reasons why I think arena is trash, as well as some ideas on how to make it better. And so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys later.